The warning and the invasion. The grand chamber of the Galactic Alliance fell silent as High Observer Malefar approached the central podium. His 6 luminescent appendages pulsed with a blue glow that reflected his grave mood. Representatives from over 3,000 civilizations watched attentively, some through physical presence, others via quantum projections spanning distances measured in thousands of light years. Esteemed members of the Alliance, Malefar began, his telepathic voice resonating through the minds of all present. I bring before you findings regarding the developing world designated Sol 3, known to its inhabitants as Earth. The massive holographic display at the center of the chamber illuminated, showing a blue-green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. As you know, we have been monitoring this civilization for approximately 300 cycles. Their development has been concerning. The display shifted to show time-lapse imagery of human history, from primitive agricultural settlements to sprawling metropolises in what appeared to be mere moments. Ambassador Krell of the Centauri Federation leaned forward. Concerning how precisely? They appear to be following standard evolutionary patterns. Malefar's appendages darkened slightly. The speed, Ambassador. These humans have progressed from primitive combustion engines to rudimentary space travel in less than 200 of their orbital cycles. For comparison, most species represented here required at least 2,000 cycles to achieve similar advancement. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Such rapid development was unprecedented. Moreover, Malefar continued when silence returned. Their advancement accelerates during periods of conflict. While most species experience technological regression during warfare, humans innovate at exponential rates when threatened. The holographic display shifted to show human wars, the rapid progression from simple projectile weapons to nuclear capabilities in less than a century. They appear quite violent, noted Ambassador Xenvex of the Regelian Concordat, her crystalline form refracting light as she spoke. Perhaps they will eliminate themselves before achieving interstellar capability. Our models suggest otherwise, replied Malefar. They repeatedly approach self-annihilation, then retreat from the precipice. Each time, they emerge more technologically advanced, yet with the same biological predisposition toward both competition and cooperation. From the shadows at the chamber's edge, a figure emerged. Ambassador Thrax of the Viridian Empire, his scaled exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. The Viridians, known for their military prowess and expansionist policies, rarely participated in alliance deliberations. You speak of these creatures as if they represent some exceptional threat, Thrax said, his voice carrying a dismissive tone. They are primitive mammals, barely capable of leaving their own atmosphere. Malefar turned all 6 eyes toward the Viridian. Not a threat, Ambassador. An unknown variable. The Science Directorate has analyzed their neural patterns. They possess an unusual combination of logical processing and emotional response that makes their reactions unpredictable. Unpredictability is merely a disguise for primitive thought, Thrax replied. Malefar continued undeterred. The Alliance recommendation is clear. Sol 3 should remain under observation quarantine. No contact until their civilization is stabilized, approximately 500 cycles from now. The vote was nearly unanimous. The Galactic Alliance would maintain its distance from Earth, allowing humans to develop in isolation until they demonstrated greater stability. Only the Viridian delegation abstained. 3 cycles later, aboard the Viridian flagship Inevitable Conquest, Emperor Kivax reviewed the Alliance reports on Earth with growing interest. These Alliance weaklings see a planet of resources and refuse to claim it, Kivax said to his war council. They fear primitives who have barely mastered atomic fusion. General Zor, the Emperor's most trusted military advisor, studied the tactical displays. The Alliance restrictions mean no other civilization will interfere, my Emperor. The humans' technological level poses no threat to our armada. And their location? Kivax inquired. Strategically valuable, Zor confirmed. The Sol system sits at the junction of 3 major hyperlanes. Controlling it would give us dominance over trade in the entire quadrant. Kovacs's 4 eyes narrowed in satisfaction. The Alliance fears their unpredictability. I see only their exploitability. Begin preparations. We will add Earth to the Viridian Empire and its inhabitants to our labor force. General Zor hesitated momentarily. The Alliance warning was unusually specific, my Emperor. Perhaps we should conduct further surveillance before. The Alliance grows weak with age. Kovacs interrupted, his voice hardening. They see threats in shadows. We are the Viridian Empire. We take what benefits us. 3 Earth months later, humanity experienced its first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, not through peaceful exchange as many had hoped, but through sudden violence. The Viridian Advance Fleet decloaked in Earth orbit without warning. 7 massive warships, each larger than the largest human aircraft carrier, assumed strategic positions around the planet. Before governments could formulate responses, the Viridians demonstrated their power. Beijing, Moscow, and Washington, D.C. experienced simultaneous strikes from orbit. The weapons were precise, targeting only military command centers and leaving surrounding civilian areas intact. Nevertheless, tens of thousands died in the initial attack. Across all global communication channels, Emperor Kovacs's message played in perfectly translated local languages. People of Earth, your planet now belongs to the Viridian Empire. Your resources are our resources. Your labor belongs to us. Resistance will result in escalating consequences. Cooperation will be rewarded with survival. You have 6 hours to surrender your governmental control. At the United Nations emergency session, representatives from every nation gathered in stunned silence, watching satellite imagery of the alien vessels maintaining position above Earth. Their technology is beyond anything we possess, stated the U.S. Secretary of Defense. Direct military confrontation would be suicide. The Chinese delegation disagreed. We have already begun coordinating our response. These invaders must learn humanity does not surrender to threats. The Russian president nodded in agreement. For the first time, all nations face a common enemy. We must respond as one species, not divided countries. Within hours, something unprecedented occurred. Ancient enemies set aside centuries-old conflicts. Resources were pooled. Military commands integrated. Humanity unified not through peace, but through facing extinction. The human response came not through formal channels, but through simultaneous attacks on all Viridian ships. Every nation with missile capability launched everything they had. Fighter jets engaged in what pilots knew were suicide missions. The attacks were not expected to succeed, merely to demonstrate that humans would not surrender without a fight. Aboard the Viridian flagship, Emperor Kovacs watched with mild amusement as primitive nuclear missiles approached his vessels. Predictable, he commented to General Zor. Engage defensive screens. The Viridian ships effortlessly neutralized the incoming attacks. Energy fields disintegrated missiles before impact. Advanced countermeasures disabled fighter jets mid-flight. Commence the second phase, Kovacs ordered. Target their major military installations. Show them the futility of resistance. The Viridian fleet fired again, destroying military bases across the planet. Millions more perished. Yet something unexpected happened. Rather than breaking human resolve, the attacks galvanized it. Surrenders did not materialize. Instead, human resistance intensified and evolved. When Viridian ground forces deployed to secure strategic locations, they encountered not organized military resistance, but distributed guerrilla tactics. Civilians and soldiers alike engaged in asymmetric warfare. For every human that fell, another took their place. More concerning to General Zor was how quickly humans adapted. Within days, they had analyzed Viridian energy signatures and developed crude but effective jamming technologies. Within weeks, they had reverse-engineered components from damaged Viridian equipment. My Emperor, Zor reported 1 month into the invasion, human adaptation exceeds our intelligence estimates. They are learning to counter our technology at an alarming rate. Kvax dismissed the concerns. They are merely delaying the inevitable. Increase the pressure. Deploy the primary invasion force. As massive troop carriers entered Earth's atmosphere, humanity revealed its first major countermeasure. Hastily constructed electromagnetic pulse generators, built using principles derived from captured Viridian technology, disabled landing mechanisms on the carriers. Several crashed, providing humans with intact Viridian vessels to study. Kvax could no longer ignore the mounting evidence. The Alliance warning about human unpredictability had merit. These creatures didn't respond like any species the Viridians had conquered before. They should have surrendered after the first demonstration of our power, Kvax said, his confidence showing the first signs of wavering. Instead, they fight harder with each defeat. General Zor reviewed the latest intelligence reports with growing concern. My Emperor, we may have miscalculated. The humans are not merely resisting, they are adapting. Our technological advantage is eroding far faster than our models predicted possible. For the first time, uncertainty crept into Kvax's mind. The humans weren't following the expected pattern of a species facing superior technology. They weren't breaking under pressure. They were learning, evolving their tactics, and most alarmingly, beginning to understand Viridian technology at an unprecedented pace. Intensify the attacks, Kvax ordered, concealing his growing disquiet. These primitives must learn that resistance against the Viridian Empire leads only to destruction. But as the first phase of the invasion concluded, both Kvax and Zor recognized an uncomfortable truth. The conquest of Earth would not be the simple annexation they had anticipated. The humans were proving to be adversaries unlike any they had faced before. Humanity's response and victory. 6 months into the Viridian invasion, Earth had transformed. Cities lay in ruins, millions had perished, but humanity remained unbroken. More significantly, they had learned. In underground facilities scattered across the planet, scientists and engineers worked feverishly, studying captured Viridian technology. The invaders' greatest advantage, their vast technological superiority, was eroding with each passing day. Dr. Elena Sorokin, formerly a quantum physicist at Moscow State University, now led the global Viridian Technology Integration Project. Her team had made the breakthrough that changed the course of the war. Their energy systems operate on principles we theorized but never implemented, she explained to the Unified Earth Defense Council. Quantum entanglement on a macroscopic scale. We've adapted the theory to our existing infrastructure. General Williams of the newly formed Global Defense Force nodded. In plain language, Doctor, we can disrupt their shields, Sorokin replied. Not permanently, but long enough to deliver a payload. Similar breakthroughs occurred across other domains. In Singapore, engineers developed methods to interfere with Viridian communications. In Brazil, biologists identified vulnerabilities in Viridian environmental suits that allowed for targeted bioweapons that affected only their physiology. What astonished the Viridians wasn't just that humans were learning their technology, it was the speed at which they did so. Processes that had taken Viridian scientists generations to develop, humans reversed engineered in months. Meanwhile, the Viridian ground campaign faltered against unconventional human tactics. Their military doctrine, developed through centuries of successful conquests, relied on overwhelming force and technological superiority. It proved inadequate against an enemy that refused to engage on expected terms. Humans didn't mass armies for battles the Viridians could easily win. Instead, they struck in small groups, targeted supply lines, and disappeared. They sacrificed territory to preserve capabilities. They employed psychological warfare that exploited previously unknown weaknesses in Viridian mental conditioning. Aboard the inevitable conquest, General Zor delivered increasingly concerning reports. My Emperor, we've lost contact with our ground forces in the region they call Afghanistan. The entire battalion, over 2,000 elite warriors, eliminated by locals using primarily primitive projectile weapons combined with our own technology captured from previous encounters. Kvax's rage was palpable. How is this possible? These are primitives. Primitives who learn with extraordinary speed, Zor replied. Our encrypted communications now remain secure for only days before they crack the algorithms. Our energy weapons are being replicated. Our tactical doctrine is being predicted and countered. Another officer approached nervously. Emperor, we've detected unusual energy signatures from multiple locations on the planet's surface. Before Kavax could respond, alarms blared throughout the flagship. Across Earth's surface, devices activated simultaneously. Technology that hadn't existed 6 months earlier, built by humans working with incomplete knowledge, but extraordinary intuition. The devices generated precisely calibrated energy fields that matched the resonant frequency of Viridian shield technology. For 8 critical seconds, every Viridian vessel in Earth orbit lost shield protection. In those 8 seconds, humanity launched their counterattack. Not missiles tipped with nuclear warheads. Those had proven ineffective, but projectiles designed by studying Viridian hull composition. Simple kinetic weapons, accelerated to tremendous speeds, struck with precision against previously identified structural vulnerabilities. 3 Viridian warships shattered. 2 more suffered critical damage. Only the flagship and 1 support vessel maintained functionality. Kavax stared in disbelief at the tactical display. Impossible, he whispered. General Zor's voice was grim. My Emperor, we must withdraw. The humans have achieved in months what should have taken them centuries. Our reinforcements are still 2 cycles away. If we remain, we face total defeat. Retreat. Before primitives. Kavax hissed. The Viridian Empire does not. His words were cut short as the ship rocked violently. Not from external attack, but from within. Human infiltration teams, using adapted Viridian cloaking technology, had boarded during the shield disruption. In engineering sections throughout the vessel, explosives detonated. The flagship's propulsion systems failed. Its weapons went offline. On the command deck, the doors slid open. A squad of humans entered, wearing armor cobbled together from Viridian components. Their weapons, hybrid creations merging Viridian energy technology with human design principles, were trained on Kavax. Their leader stepped forward, removing her helmet to reveal a face marked with scars from previous battles. Emperor Kavax, she said in flawless Viridian language, I am Colonel Amara Chen of the Global Defense Force. Your invasion has failed. Your choices are surrender or death. Kavax saw something in the human's eyes that he had never expected to encounter in a supposedly primitive species, not just determination or courage, but understanding. These creatures had not only fought his forces, they had comprehended them, learned from them, and ultimately defeated them through sheer adaptability. 3 days later, in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Alliance, an emergency session convened as news of the Viridian defeat spread. High Observer Male Far addressed the stunned representatives. The Viridian Empire violated our quarantine directive and attacked Earth, believing they faced a primitive species they could easily conquer. They were catastrophically wrong. The holographic display showed Viridian ships retreating from Earth space, human vessels in pursuit using technology that clearly incorporated Viridian principles. In less than 1 standard cycle, humans not only resisted a technologically superior invader, but adapted Viridian technology and developed countermeasures that should have been centuries beyond their capability. Ambassador Krull spoke the question on everyone's mind. What happens now? The humans have acquired advanced technology far ahead of their expected development curve. Male Far's appendages pulsed with a new color, one that the chamber's occupants recognized as signifying profound respect mixed with caution. We will do what wisdom demands. We will extend formal diplomatic recognition to Earth and offer membership in the Alliance. Not because they are ready by our previous standards, but because they have demonstrated capabilities that would make them dangerous enemies and valuable allies. 1 cycle later, the first official human diplomatic delegation arrived at Alliance headquarters. They came not in captured Viridian vessels, but in ships of their own design. incorporating and improving upon technology they had absorbed in less than a year. Among the Alliance representatives, a new understanding emerged. The warning about human unpredictability hadn't been strong enough. These beings didn't just adapt. They transformed challenges into opportunities, conflicts into advancement. Their minds worked in ways fundamentally different from any known species. As Human Ambassador Layla Patel addressed the Alliance for the first time, her words were translated for all members. "We come seeking peaceful cooperation and mutual benefit. But understand this clearly. Humanity will never again be underestimated, never again be targeted for conquest. We have earned our place among the stars through blood and innovation. We extend friendship to all who respect us, and fair warning to any who might follow the Viridian's example." In the silence that followed, the assembled representatives of 3,000 civilizations recognized a fundamental shift in the galactic order. The species they had quarantined as unpredictable had emerged as a power that could not be ignored. The Viridian Empire had ignored the Galactic Alliance's warning. In doing so, they had not only ensured their own defeat, but had accelerated humanity's rise to the stars by centuries. Sometimes, the most dangerous mistake in the universe is underestimating the power of a species that thrives on overcoming impossible odds.